Imagine walking into your own store, disguised as just another customer, only to overhear your manager tearing into a young cashier like she's worthless. Her face flushes red, tears welling up, as he screams about her incompetence right in front of you. But what happens next? The owner drops the act, and his reaction leaves the entire store stunned. This is the kind of revenge that hits you right in the feels, a pure, satisfying justice. As if you've ever been belittled at work, felt that knot in your stomach from unfair treatment, or just craved seeing a bully get what's coming to them, you're in for a treat. Hit that like button if karma stories fire you up. Subscribe for more Reddit revenge tales that restore your faith in justice. And let's dive into this one. It's going to leave you cheering. A's story comes from a Reddit post that's blown up for all the right reasons. It's about the small business owner named Alex. Let's call him that to keep things anonymous. Alex had built his cozy neighborhood coffee shop from the ground up. Picture it, a warm, inviting spot with the aroma of fresh ground beans wafting through the air, mismatched wooden tables where locals chatted over lattes, and a chalkboard menu scribbled with daily specials. It wasn't a massive chain, but it was his pride and joy, employing a tight-knit team of about a dozen people. Alex wasn't the type to micromanage. He trusted his staff, especially his manager, Mike. Mike had been with the shop for 3 years, a burly guy in his mid-40s with a perpetual scowl and a voice that boomed like thunder. On paper, he was efficient, schedules were tight, inventory was spot on. But lately, Alex had been hearing whispers, employees quitting unexpectedly, low morale in the group chat. Nothing concrete, just a gut feeling that something was off. So, one rainy Tuesday afternoon, Alex decided to go undercover. He threw on a baseball cap, an old hoodie, and some jeans. Nothing flashy, just your average Joe looking for a caffeine fix. His heart pounded a little as he pushed open the door, the bell jingling softly. This was his baby, after all, and he hated the idea that it might be rotting from the inside. As he approached the counter, the place was quiet. A mid-afternoon lull. Behind the register stood Sarah, a 19-year-old college student who'd been with them for 6 months. She was sweet, always smiling, the kind of employee who remembered regulars' orders and added a little extra foam to kids' hot chocolates. But today, her hands trembled slightly as she punched in an order. Alex ordered a simple black coffee, playing the part, fumbling with his wallet like he was in no rush. As thoughts when Mike stormed out from the back office. His face was twisted in that familiar grimace, veins bulging in his neck. "Sarah, what the hell is this?" he barked, slamming a stack of receipts on the counter. The sound echoed like a slap. Sarah flinched, her eyes darting down. I think it's the morning shift's tally, sir," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. As Mike leaned in close, his breath probably reeking of stale coffee. You think, that's your problem, girl. You don't think. This is the 3rd time this week you've messed up the inventory count. Do you even know how to count past 10 without using your fingers?" He laughed, a harsh, mocking chuckle that made Alex's stomach churn. Right there, in front of a customer, Mike was dismantling her. Sarah's cheeks burned crimson, her lower lip quivering as she fought back tears. She mumbled an apology, but Mike wasn't done. "If you can't handle this, maybe you should go back to flipping burgers. Or better yet, stay home and let the adults work." As inside, Alex felt a fire ignite. His fists clenched in his pockets, nails digging into his palms. How dare this guy? Sarah wasn't incompetent. She was new, eager, but clearly terrified under this tyrant's thumb. Alex's mind raced. Is this how he treats everyone when I'm not around? The betrayal stung like a slap. He'd hired Mike to lead, not to lord over people like some petty dictator. The disrespect wasn't just to Sarah, it was to the whole team, to the values Alex had built this place on. Fairness, respect, gone, trampled under Mike's ego. But Alex held back, biting his tongue. He wanted to see how far this went. As Sarah handed him his coffee with shaky hands, whispering a sorry for the wait, Mike hovered like a vulture. "Hurry it up. We don't pay you to chit-chat." The air thickened with tension. The few other customers shift. It was a drizzly afternoon in the bustling heart of the city, where the aroma of fresh-baked pastries mingled with the sharp tang of espresso. Alex, the owner of a quaint corner bakery called Rise Grind, had built the place from scratch 5 years ago. Starting with just a single oven and a dream, he'd turned it into a local favorite, known for its flaky croissants and friendly vibe. But lately, something felt off. Staff turnover had spiked, and anonymous reviews hinted at a toxic atmosphere behind the counter. Alex, a soft-spoken man in his late 30s with a knack for numbers and a heart for people, decided it was time to investigate. He donned a plain baseball cap, an oversized jacket, and jeans, transforming from boss to anonymous customer. His pulse quickened as he stepped inside his own shop, the familiar bell tinkling above the door. He queued up, eyes scanning the room discreetly. Behind the register stood Emily, a young cashier in her early 20s, her ponytail slightly askew from the rush. She greeted customers with a warm smile, but Alex noticed the faint shadows under her eyes, the way her hands fidgeted with the apron strings. Then, from the back office, emerged Tom, the manager Alex had promoted 2 years ago. Tom was a burly figure with the perpetual frown, his voice carrying like a foghorn. As Alex reached the front, he ordered a simple coffee and muffin, fumbling his wallet to buy time. That's when it happened. Emily miscounted the change by a mere nickel, an honest slip in the chaos. Tom's face darkened like a storm cloud. He barreled over, snatching the receipt from her hand. "What the hell, Emily? Can't you do basic math? This is why we're losing money, idiots like you." His words sliced through the air, loud enough for the entire line to hear. Emily's cheeks flushed scarlet, her eyes dropping to the floor as she mumbled an apology. Tom didn't stop. He leaned in, his breath hot on her face. "You're lucky I don't fire you on the spot. Go clean the table, Essa. Maybe you can handle that without screwing up." The humiliation hung heavy, customers shifting uncomfortably. Alex's blood boiled, but he stayed silent, watching. This was the injustice he'd feared, and it ignited a fire in him. Little did Tom know, the customer witnessing it all was about to turn the tables. Alex's heart hammered against his ribs as he clutched his coffee cup, the steam rising like his simmering rage. He found a corner table near the window, where rain pattered softly against the glass, providing a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing inside him. Pretending to scroll through his phone, he observed the scene unfold further, his mind racing with memories of how he'd hired Tom. Back then, Tom had seemed reliably a former barista with management experience, promising to uphold the bakery's ethos of kindness and efficiency. Alex had trusted him, delegating day-to-day operations so he could focus on expansion plans. But now, seeing this, it was a betrayal that cut deep, not just to Emily, but to the very soul of Rise Grind. The bakery wasn't just a business, it was a community hub where single moms grabbed quick breakfasts, students studied over lattes, and elderly regulars shared stories. Tom's bullying threatened to poison that warmth. As minutes ticked by, Alex's thoughts swirled into a vortex of indignation. How many times had this happened? How many employees had quit because of Tom's tirades? He recalled the recent departures: young Jake, who left abruptly citing personal reasons, and Maria, who'd been a stellar baker but suddenly stopped showing up. Whispers in the staff group chat, ones Alex monitored quietly, hinted at fear, at dreading shifts under Tom's watch. Emily, in particular, tugged at his heartstrings. She'd started as a part-timer, balancing community college classes and graphic design. Alex had seen her potential, her quick learning curve, the way she brightened customers' days with personalized doodles on to-go cups. To watch her shrink under Tom's verbal assault, her shoulders hunching as if trying to disappear, ignited a protective fury in him. His fists clenched under the table, nails biting into palms, leaving crescent marks. The physical sensation grounded him, a reminder that this wasn't just anger, it was a call to action. He couldn't let this slide. Justice demanded intervention. The shop's ambience, usually so comforting with its soft indie playlister and the hum of the espresso machine, now felt oppressive. Alex sipped his coffee slowly, the bitterness mirroring his mood. He overheard Tom muttering to another employee, a barista named Liam, about these kids not knowing hard work. Liam nodded meekly, avoiding eye contact, his movements jerky as he frothed milk. It was clear, Tom's reign had created a hierarchy of fear, where mistakes weren't learning opportunities but excuses for degradation. Alex's internal monologue raged. This man thinks he's untouchable, lording over my staff like some petty king. But he's forgotten who built this kingdom. I won't fire him quietly. He needs to feel the weight of his actions, just as he's made others feel small. The plan crystallized in his mind, not a rash confrontation, but a calculated reveal that would expose Tom's true colors to everyone. He wanted the staff to witness it, to feel empowered, and for customers to see that Rise Grind stood for respect. Rising from his seat, Alex approached the counter again, his disguise still intact but his resolve steel hard. The line had thinned, leaving just a couple of patrons browsing the pastry case. Emily was wiping down the surface with vigorous strokes, her eyes red-rimmed but determined. Tom lounged against the back wall, arms crossed, surveying his domain with smug satisfaction. Alex cleared his throat, drawing Tom's attention. "Excuse me," he said, his voice steady but laced with an undercurrent of authority. "I couldn't help but overhear that little exchange earlier. Is that how you treat all your employees?" Tom's eyes narrowed, his posture straightening like a guard dog sensing a threat. He stepped forward, towering over the counter, his voice booming with false bravado. "Look, buddy, if you've got a problem, take it elsewhere. This is my shop, and I run it how I see fit. Employees mess up, they get called out. As simple as that." The arrogance dripped from his words, his chest puffing out as if to intimidate. Emily froze mid-wipe, glancing up with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. The other customers paused, sensing the tension crackling in the air like static before a storm. Alex felt the surge of adrenaline, his pulse thundering in his ears. This was the moment at the turning point where pretense gave way to truth. He reached up slowly, removing his baseball cap, letting his familiar face come into view. The hat's brim had shadowed his features, but now, with it gone, recognition dawned like a slow sunrise. Emily's eyes widened first, her cloth dropping from her hand with a soft thud. "Mr. Alex?" she whispered, her voice trembling with disbelief. Tom's reaction was slower, his brain catching up to the visual cue. His smug grin faltered, morphing into confusion, then horror. The color leached from his ruddy cheeks, leaving him ashen, his mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping on dry land. "Alex, what are you doing here?" I mean, you're not supposed to be." His words trailed off, stumbling over themselves, the boom reduced to a pathetic stutter. The shop fell into a hush, the only sounds the distant drip of a faucet and the faint whir of the refrigerator. Liam poked his head from the back, jaw slack, as other staff members emerged, drawn by the shift in energy. Alex stood tall, his gaze locked on Tom's, unflinching. The power dynamic had flipped in an instant, and he savored it not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. "Yes, Tom, it's me, the owner, and I've been here long enough to see exactly how you run things." His voice was calm, measured, each word a deliberate strike. He didn't raise it, he didn't need to. The quiet authority carried more weight than any shout. "That exchange you had with Emily? Unacceptable. Degrading her in front of customers, belittling her efforts, that's not management. That's bullying. And it stops now." Tom recovered slightly, his shock twisting into defensive anger. He balled his fists at his sides, veins bulging in his neck. "You can't just spy on me like this. I've kept this place profitably, schedules on point, costs down. Without me, it'd be chaos." His voice cracked on the last word, betraying his panic. He glanced around, seeking allies, but found only wide-eyed stares from the staff and customers. One elderly regular, Mrs. Hargrove, who came in daily for her scone, shook her head disapprovingly, murmuring, "Shameful." Alex stepped closer to the counter, his presence commanding the space. "Profitable? At what cost, Tom? You've driven good people away with your toxicity. Emily here, she's talented, dedicated, but you've made her doubt herself, made this place feel like a prison instead of a team." He turned to Emily, his expression softening. "Emily, I'm sorry you had to endure that. You're not incompetent, you're valuable. Starting today, things change." Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears, a small nod her only response, but the relief was palpable, her posture straightening as if a burden had lifted. The climax built as Alex delivered the blow. "Tom, you're fired. Pack your things and leave immediately. Security will escort you out if needed." The words hung in the air, final and irrevocable. Tom's face contorted in fury, his body trembling. "You can't do this. I'll sue you wrongful termination." But his threats rang hollow, the bluster of a man cornered. He slammed a hand on the counter, the impact rattling the display case, but it only underscored his desperation. Customers murmured in approval, one young woman clapping softly, sparking a ripple of applause. The staff exchanged glances, a collective exhale filling the room. Liam whispered to another barista. Finally, Alex felt a wave of triumph wash over him, his chest expanding with vindication. This wasn't just revenge, it was restoration, reclaiming the bakery's spirit. As Tom gathered his jacket and keys, muttering curses under his breath, he slunk toward the door, head bowed, the once dominant figure reduced to a shadow. The bell tinkled mockingly as he exited into the rain, his silhouette fading into the gray afternoon. In the aftermath, the shop buzzed with a new energy. Alex addressed the team, his voice warm and reassuring. "Everyone, take a breath. This place is about support, not fear. Emily, you're promoted to shift leader with the raise. Let's rebuild this together." Cheers erupted, hugs exchanged, the tension dissolving into camaraderie. Customers lingered, sharing stories of their own workplace woes, turning the incident into a communal catharsis. But the story didn't end there. Word spread like wildfire through the neighborhood. Social media lit up with posts about the undercover boss takedown, customers praising Alex's integrity. Business boomed, drawing in new patrons eager to support a place that valued its people. Emily flourished, her confidence blooming. She even designed new menu graphics that became a hit. Tom, meanwhile, struggled to find work, his reputation tarnished by the viral tale. Whispers reached Alex that Tom had applied at rival cafes, only to be turned away after references checked out poorly. Reflecting on it months later, Alex sat in his office, the same one Tom had once occupied. The experience had taught him vigilance, the importance of leading by example. He'd implemented anonymous feedback systems, team-building events, ensuring no one felt powerless again. The injustice that sparked it all had forged a stronger foundation, proving that sometimes, the most shocking reactions come from quiet resolve. Yet, delving deeper into the psychological layers, Alex often pondered the human elements at play. Tom's behavior stemmed from his own insecurity as a failed career in corporate management, perhaps pushing him to overcompensate with dominance. Alex had seen glimpses of it early on but ignored them, a mistake he vowed not to repeat. Emily's journey was one of resilience. Her initial powerlessness transformed into empowerment, inspiring others. The customers' reactions highlighted a universal craving for justice, that schadenfreude mixed with empathy when bullies fall. Expanding on the ripple effects, the event became a catalyst for change beyond the bakery. Local business owners reached out to Alex, sharing similar stories and seeking advice on fostering positive environments. He started a small workshop series, Leading with Empathy, held in the bakery after hours, where entrepreneurs discussed toxic leadership and its antidotes. Emily co-hosted, her poise a testament to growth. One session drew a crowd of 50, with participants from cafes to tech startups, all nodding in recognition as Alex recounted the undercover day without naming names. On a personal level, Alex's relationships deepened. His wife, who managed the books from home, had always urged him to be more hands-on. Now, they collaborated more closely, turning Rise Grind into a family affair. Their kids helped on weekends, learning the value of kindness in business. Even the suppliers noticed the shift, offering better deals to a shop radiating positivity. But let's not gloss over the emotional toll. In the immediate aftermath, Alex battled guilt. Had he waited too long? Sleepless nights replayed the scene, his mind questioning if a gentler approach might have reformed Tom. Therapy helped, framing it as necessary boundary setting. Emily, too, processed the trauma, journaling about reclaiming her voice. The staff formed a support group, sharing laughs over Tom tales that bonded them. Fast forward a year, and the bakery expanded to a second location, Emily managing it with grace. Alex, undercover no more, made surprise visits as himself, greeted with cheers. The shocking reaction that day. It wasn't just Tom's shock, it was everyone's, of the collective gasp of a community witnessing fairness prevail. It reminded Alex that true leadership isn't about power, it's about uplifting, ensuring no one feels humiliated again. Diving into the nuances, consider the sensory details that etched the memory. The rain's rhythmic tap, the coffee's acrid bite, Emily's trembling hands. These amplified the drama. Tom's sweat-slicked forehead as realization hit. The collective intake of breath of these made it visceral. Psychologically, it tapped into archetypes: the underdog's rise, the tyrant's fall, satisfying that innate sense of equity. Years had passed since that fateful rainy afternoon at Rise Grind, but the echoes of the confrontation lingered like the faint scent of vanilla in the air after a batch of cookies cooled. Alex, now in his mid-40s, had transformed his single bakery into a modest chain of 5 locations across the city, each embodying Rise Grind, but the echoes of the confrontation lingered like the faint scent of vanilla in the air after a batch of cookies cooled. Alex, now in his mid-40s, had transformed his single bakery into a modest chain of 5 locations across the city, each embodying the principles of respect and community he'd fought to preserve. The undercover incident with Tom had become legendary among his staff, a cautionary tale whispered during orientations, a reminder that leadership meant lifting others up, not tearing them down. Emily, the once humiliated cashier, had risen through the ranks to become the operations director, her graphic design skills now adorning branding materials that won local awards. Life had moved on, but fate has a way of circling back, and one crisp autumn morning, Alex found himself facing a ghost from the past. It started innocently enough. Alex was visiting the original shop, not in disguise this time, but as the visible owner, chatting with regulars and sampling a new pumpkin spice blend. The bell jingled, and in walked a familiar burly figure, Tom, older now, with gray streaking his temples and a slight stoop to his shoulders. He froze upon seeing Alex, his eyes widening in a flash of recognition mixed with resentment. Alex felt a jolt, his stomach twisting as memories flooded back: the humiliation of Emily, the toxic atmosphere, the satisfying moment of firing. But he composed himself, nodding politely. "Tom." "Long time." Tom hesitated, then approached the counter where a new cashier, a bright-eyed teen named Mia, took his order for a black coffee. As Mia rang it up, she accidentally double-charged for a muffin he hadn't ordered, a minor glitch in the system. Tom's face darkened, veins pulsing in his neck, the old habits surfacing like a dormant volcano. "What kind of idiot are you? Can't even press buttons right? This place has gone to hell since I left." His voice boomed, drawing stares. Mia's cheeks flushed, her hands shaking as she voided the item. Emily, overhearing from the back, emerged with a steely gaze, but Alex held up a hand. This was his to handle. Inside, Alex's mind raced. Not again. Has he learned nothing? The injustice stung anew, not just for Mia, but for the cycle it represented. Tom's bullying hadn't changed, it had just been displaced. Alex felt the surge of determination, his pulse quickening. This wasn't coincidence, it was an opportunity for a deeper closure. He stepped forward, voice calm but firm. "Tom, that's enough. Apologize to her." Tom whirled, his eyes blazing. "You, still playing hero? You ruined my life, Alex. Couldn't get a job for months after your little stunt. Had to start over at a warehouse, breaking my back. And now this dump hires kids who can't count." The venom spilled out, years of bitterness unleashed. Customers murmured, phones emerging to record the drama. Emily stood beside Mia, whispering encouragement, but the air crackled with tension. Alex didn't flinch. "Ruined your life? You did that yourself, Tom, by treating people like dirt. But if you think this place is a dump, why come back?" Tom's response was a sneer, but Alex saw the crack of the underlying shame, the regret masked by anger. It humanized him, revealing a man trapped in his own flaws. Yet sympathy didn't excuse the behavior. Alex's thoughts deepened. Revenge isn't just firing, it's teaching, forcing growth. He decided on a different approach this time, not expulsion, but confrontation with consequence. "Let's talk outside," Alex suggested, guiding Tom to the sidewalk where fallen leaves swirled in the breeze. The chill air sharpened their words. Tom puffed up, ready for a fight, but Alex disarmed him with honesty. "I saw what you did to Emily that day. It wasn't management, it was cruelty. And now, with Mia, same pattern." "Why, Tom? What's driving this?" Tom deflated slightly, rubbing his neck. "You don't get it. Pressure from bosses, from life. I had to be tough to get results." But his voice wavered, the excuse thin. Alex pressed on, sharing how the bakery thrived post-Tom, with lower turnover and higher morale. "Toughness isn't yelling, it's empathy. You could have been great, but you chose fear." The conversation stretched, Tom opening up about his own pasta-abusive father, failed dream slayers peeling back like an onion. Alex listened, the autumn sun casting long shadows. It wasn't absolution, but understanding. Yet justice demanded accountability. "Apologize to Mia, sincerely, or don't come back." Tom grumbled but re-entered, muttering a gruff "Sorry, kid, bad day." Mia nodded wearily, and the moment passed. But Alex wasn't done. He offered Tom a card for a leadership coaching program he'd started, inspired by the incident. "Change starts with admitting the problem." Tom pocketed it, leaving without another word, his footsteps heavy on the pavement. That encounter rippled outward, prompting Alex to expand his workshops. He invited former bullies like Tom as guest speakers, anonymized stories turning pain into lessons. Emily co-led sessions on resilience, drawing from her experience. One workshop drew over 100 attendees, including HR pros from big firms, all grappling with toxic cultures. On a personal note, Alex's family life blossomed. His daughter, now 10, helped design kid-friendly menus, learning empathy through stories of the bakery's history. Nights were spent reflecting with his wife over tea, discussing how one act of courage sparked a movement. But delving deeper, the psychological undercurrents fascinated Alex. Tom's return highlighted unresolved trauma, a projection of insecurities onto others, a defense mechanism rooted in vulnerability. Alex read books on emotional intelligence, integrating concepts into his business. Staff underwent training on conflict resolution, transforming Rise Grind into a model of mental health support. The viral aftermath of the original event had faded, but Tom's reappearance reignited interest. A local podcast featured Alex, where he shared the sequel without malice. Listeners flooded in, sales spiking 20%. Emily launched a blog, From Counter to Corner Office, chronicling her rise, inspiring young workers nationwide. Challenges arose too. Tom didn't immediately change. Months later, Alex heard he'd been fired from the warehouse for similar issues. But then, a surprise, Tom emailed, thanking him for the card. He'd joined the coaching, was working on anger management. It wasn't a fairy tale redemption, but progressive halting, human. Alex pondered the broader implications. In a world of quick judgments, true justice involves nuance, offering paths to reform alongside consequences. His bakeries became sanctuaries, hosting community events on kindness. One evening, a poetry slam focused on workplace stories, with Mia sharing her encounter poetically, empowering others. Sensory memories anchored these reflections, the warmth of fresh bread contrasting cold confrontations, the bitter coffee swallowed during tense talks. Psychologically, it satisfied the arc of from victimhood to victory, extending to antagonists' potential healing. As the chain grew, Alex ensured core values endured. Annual undercover days had managers swap roles with staff, fostering understanding. Emily's promotion to COO solidified the legacy. In quiet moments, Alex walked the original shop's floors, the wood creaking underfoot. The shocking reaction wasn't just shock, it was awakening. From pretending client to profound changemaker, his story proved, one person's stand can reshape many lives. Expanding further, consider the community's evolution. Neighbors formed support groups, inspired by the bakery's ethos. A local school partnered for internships, teaching teens soft skills amid scones. Tom's journey, glimpsed through occasional updates, showed therapy's grind to relapses, breakthroughs. He started a small food truck, applying lessons, reviews praising his improved demeanor. Alex's internal growth was profound. He battled imposter syndrome, therapy revealing his own fears of failure driving the initial trust in Tom. This self-awareness fueled authenticity. The narrative wove into cultural fabric. A short film based loosely on the event's won festival awards, Alex consulting to ensure accuracy. Financially, expansion brought hurdles as supply chain issues, competition. But resilient teams navigated, turning obstacles into innovations like eco-friendly packaging. Emotionally, bonds strengthened. Emily's wedding at the bakery, staff as family, underscored unity.